Welcome everyone to Creative on Purpose Live. This is a show dedicated to helping seasoned solopreneurs optimize their business to fund and fit around their ideal lifestyle. I am thrilled to have an old friend with me here today. Not that she's old, but we've been friends for a long time. My name is Scott Perry, your guide in the Close the Gap 90-day Solopreneur Accelerator program and the publisher of the Solopreneur Success Stack. I'm here with Penny Harris from Renewable Philanthropy. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then I'm going to tell some secrets about her. And we're just going to have a conversation about how she's come to do what she's been doing, and we'll glean some lessons and insights from her story that will help those of you tuning in to do the same. So Penny, welcome to the broadcast. Please tell our viewers who you are, what you're up to these days, and where can people go to learn more about you and what you do.
Okay. I am Penny Harris, and I live in South Portland, Maine, and I'm a fundraising coach, and my business is Renewable Philanthropy. And I have been fundraising for many, many, many years and evolved over the years until now I'm a coach. And yeah, you can find me on my website and on LinkedIn. I do a lot of my posts and writing, and I have recently started posting on Substack, so I can be found there too.
Oh, awesome. So as I mentioned, Penny and I have known each other for a while in digital years. We practically went to kindergarten together. We met at Seth Godin's marketing seminar workshop back in the Akimbo days. And then Penny's been a longtime member of the Solopreneur Success Circle through all of its manifestations over the years. So it's great to have you here, Penny. The thing that I'm always interested in, and I know a little bit about you already, but it's a great story, and I'm sure you'll give me some angles that I haven't heard before. But how did you come to be doing the work that you're doing now? I doubt very much that little Penny, 9-year-old Penny on the potato farm picking potatoes in the field said, you know what, one day I'm going to ditch this potato thing and I'm going to become a fundraising coach. So how did you come to be doing what you're doing now?
Well, actually, my very first giving started when I was a little girl, probably 11 or 12, and my father told me he would give me an allowance, but I had to give part of that allowance to the church. I couldn't choose my mission. I had to give it to the church. And so I laugh at that today. But what I remember from that is sitting in the church and having the plate go by you and putting in my coins, literally, and getting the feeling that I belonged, that it was different than sitting and going to church and not giving. And that has stuck with me. And I think over the years, I have, that's just been a thing for me. And then when I had my family and I did volunteer work, I found that I worked mostly with the League of Women Voters and did political action type activities. And for me, the League fit me perfectly because I wanted for people to vote, but vote the way they wanted to and what they believed. And the League had no party preference. I registered voters, I had forums, and my very first ask for support was, I learned that the League was doing debates. And I thought, I want to have a debate between the US Senate and the governor's race, because that's what was happening that year. And Maine is a big state. So I wanted the people up in Fort Kent and the people in York to hear the same story. And so the way to do that was that. So I called this bank president in my small town, Bangor, and I said, I've got this idea. What do you think? I said, is it something you would support? And he said, oh yeah, I love it. I love it. He helped me raise from other companies. He helped me raise enough money. Once I had the money, I went to public broadcasting. They absolutely wanted to do it. Then I had a friend whose husband was at the university. He helped me write the agenda and be able to do an event. Another friend whose husband owned a railroad, a radio station, and he did all of my public announcements. And Senator George Mitchell was the one in that debate, and he was 30 points behind at the debate. And when he got over, he won the race. And he always said to me, it was that debate, it was that opportunity to put myself in front of the people that I won. And so that is, I just have been hooked on fundraising because it was the people who made that happen. Sure, I ran around and did the task, and then after a forum one night, I had this couple come up to me as I was leaving. They said, "Hey, Penny, we want to tell you to thank you, how much we appreciated you asking us for money to help with this forum, because we sat here tonight thinking, oh, we're helping our community make this happen." That's how I see fundraising. That's kind of a long story.
No, I love that story. Dirty little secret. Scott went to school in Maine and lived in Maine for a number of years. George Mitchell was my senator while I was there. So I love the story. I love the a couple of reflections that might be helpful for other solopreneurs that are watching is, what I'm hearing in your story, Penny, is there was just this instinct or intuition that there was a way that you could help the politicians get the word out, but also help your community make an informed choice about who they were going to choose as their representative in the Senate or in the governor's mansion. And so you just took intentional action to do what you could to make that happen. And I think for so many of us, we discount our ability to actually contribute. So we do nothing. And, your story is just such a great story about, there's no like, I had to screw up all my courage and do this thing, or I had to come up with this meticulous plan. It's like, hey, I think I could do this. I'll go ask some friends if they'd help me get this thing done. Some people decided to help you get it done. You did a thing, community thanked you for it. And then it just starts like this whole new journey for you where I know you went into public broadcasting and some other things. So
you're reminding me of taking the part is really important. And when I very first moved to this town, I knew nobody, and it was time to vote. And I called every candidate to see which one I wanted to vote for. And then I went to the radio stations and tried to get them, or the TV stations, to get them to interview the candidates so we could know. And they said, we will if you interview them. So I got other League of Women Voter members to interview them. And then the next year, they would not let us do it. Every TV station took over and they were interviewing all of the candidates. You love to talk about baby steps. And I think that's what this is community involvement. It's so important. Yeah.
Well, and I guess that I don't recall hearing that part of your backstory before. So that's another fascinating aspect or perspective on, how you came to be doing what you do, but also kind of what motivates you to do what you do. And, part of it is, I don't need credit. I just want to make a change happen. And if I can be an agent to help that, then that's all, that's fulfillment enough. That's meaningful enough. And just this whole, and this is a posture that I think is shared by everybody that's a member of our Solopreneur Success Circle communities. It's driven mostly by generosity, and the thing that we end up doing, as a business tends to be helping people achieve an aspiration or solve a challenge that they have experienced themselves. And are just helping people do that in a way that provides a process and some systems, but also a sense of belonging and connection that helps them achieve that with greater ease and velocity. And so I love that about you, and just this whole idea. You and I were part of the initial community called Difference Makers, and that was the whole thing. Is we're all doing our best to make a difference, you leveraging the gifts and talents and connections that we have. You, as you continued your journey, I I know that over time you began to see some things that you felt were um, missing, broken, or needed work in fundraising as just an institution or as a domain. And so you have come up with this very specific approach to how to help fundraisers achieve their goals in terms of funding their campaigns, so that the recipients of that funding can benefit, the communities can be enhanced, and so the donors feel a sense of belonging and fulfillment by making the donation. The beneficiaries are served, and the community overall is enhanced. And of course, the fundraising organization also, as the bridge between those two things, feels served as well. So I'd love to just give folks a greater sense of what is the problem that you saw and the problem that you're solving through mission-centered giving and renewable philanthropy.
Okay. I think the first thing, when my daughter went to college, I went to work and I became a fundraiser at Public Broadcasting and built their business program back then. And then I moved to the hospital and did fundraising there. And the training I went through was so different from what I had as a volunteer, where I was just kind of doing it as a community person. And it was very much money oriented. You were measured on how much money you could raise. And I did it. I must have fundraised at least 20 years plus as a professional. And I, of course, still am a professional fundraiser. But when I did pre-campaign studies and I traveled around the country and interviewed donors, organizations hired me to do that and learn the interests of the donors to support a campaign they wanted to have. And what I learned through that was just, they didn't look at money. They were looking at the mission. And that's what they wanted to know. And they wanted to know about the competency of the leaders. I would lots of times get questions about that. Nothing serious, just curiosity, or share support for the leaders, and questions about the projects and its viability and why, and who is it going to serve or benefit. And it was through that process I began to see that the more they hired people like me to deal with the donors, the less relationship they had with the donors and the mission. These donors they made their own money. They made their own idea about how much they wanted to give. What they were deciding was, do I want to help? So that is best done by somebody like a fundraiser in the organization, because then it says that's the relationship. And I did that once. I coached a fundraiser through the process of a pre-campaign study, and she said it was so helpful. She was more comfortable with donors. She could talk to them. She could just felt more human with her actions. So I had another job, and it was just money, and they refused to meet with the donors. And I said, I'm quitting. So I did. I quit the job. I walked off the job, which they were very mad about. But I said, you're wasting your money. I'm going to have a relationship with the donors, and you aren't. And you'll have given me all this money, and I don't want to work that way anymore. So over a process of doing coaching, I worked with an embodiment coach, and he helped me design my mission-centered fundraising. And he brought out my experience. He asked me all kinds of questions. And so now I have this mission-centered fundraising, which gives the fundraiser the leadership and the responsibility of managing those donors. I call them current donors. So any donor that gave in 2024 needs to be engaged with so that they will give again in 2025, because donors want to, people want to, they want to stay connected. They want to feel they belong. They want to have meaningful connections and understand the value of that mission in the community, which you referenced. The fundraiser is the only one that can do that. And right now, people think that, oh, the chair of the board or the CEO needs to ask for the money. And I have lots of stories that show that's not true, that it's the fundraiser. And I've had donors ask for me to talk with me, not somebody else. So I think we've gotten, because, and I don't blame anybody. This is what happens when we get so focused on getting the money and consumption and getting it, that we forget about the generosity and the mission, and that donors want to be a part. So if I'm giving to an organization, I would like to continue as long as I understand why they're giving, and build that relationship. So that's what I'm working with now. And it's a big change. It's bigger change than I ever thought it would be. And working and with you and learning about how you listen and work with people and start where they are, which is everybody says. I'm learning that, and I'm having better conversations, and people are a little more open, I think, to that than just, because that means the fundraiser is the bridge from the community to the mission. And we can hold it together and hold the people and build the supportive community that is part of um, the mission and part of making it happen. I mean, your hospital that you go to wouldn't be there without the donors that already help make it possible.
Mm,
So the donors in our community, I don't care if you give $5 or you give $50 million, you're giving to be a part of and to help.
yeah, I love that. Well, and I mean, this theme of shared belief and belonging has been something that has come up a couple of times now in the conversation. And, just to make Penny's experience and what she's sharing relevant to everyone, Penny had this wealth of experience in this one specific domain where she recognized a gap, was acknowledging that there was this gap, addressed and defined that gap, and then came up with a process to fill that gap, and help solve, a problem that she saw common to fundraising organizations, but also includes the donors and the beneficiaries. And that's so much a part of what I think just about any solopreneur does. Is there, in general, whether it's a coach or a consultant or a freelancer, graphic designer, web designer, whatever, or even just a creative, professional musician or artist, you are helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. You are helping make a meaningful change for the better happen for someone. And it has to begin with acknowledging, like you were saying, what is actually happening, what is true, where are we, where do we want to end up, what has to happen to make that happen, what's our most immediate constraint, and how do we navigate that to help close the gap so that you get the meaning and fulfillment and remuneration for helping close the gap. But they also, just everyone has that sense of belonging and shared fulfillment in accomplishing something that's worth accomplishing. So I really appreciate all that context about what you do and how you came to be doing it. As we're coming to the end of the conversation, I do want to throw a few more questions at you. And I guess, the first is, you mentioned your embodiment coach. And of course, you and I have worked together many times over the years. You're a member of the Solopreneur Success Circle. You are also in the Close the Gap program. And, you are talking about this idea, what a big part of what you do is about community building, uh, providing people with a sense of belonging and identity, or at least achieving, some sort of identity that they want to achieve. How have you found all these relationships that you've been involved in? You mentioned your embodiment coach. There's our work together and our community together. Um, how has all of that helped you think about how, where's the leverage? Where are the places where I can help amplify this need for identity and belonging, shared purpose, and so forth, that helps you accomplish the things that you're able to accomplish with your clients?
Well, first of all, I think I'm still learning it. I think I will be learning it for a long time. And I think it's taken me courage because I'm stepping out with something that nobody else wants. It isn't that they don't believe it, but it's hard to bring it out when it's about money. And I think I've been helped so much with working with you over the years because you're looking at the fundraising as I don't know what to call it, kind of like an entity that isn't focused on money. It's focused on relationships. It's focused on how we interact and what is it, and tuning my head into what do people want and how are people going to feel better about this? And I think it's the skills that I've learned that's helping because fundraising training is only about getting the money. And I've been to a couple recently. They're just like they were 20, 30 years ago when I first started. So, and I understand, and it's okay, but it's not the way I think you build real community. So that when you drive through our streets and you see what the nonprofits are that are there, and how interactive they are, that's what I've learned and become more aware of with you. Like if there's a symphony in your town, musicians have jobs. I get to go to concerts. The musicians generally go to the schools and teach children music. Children get concerts and they see music, and the concerts and also jobs like mine, and restaurants and hotels, when there's concerts, they get business. And then the Chamber of Commerce is marketing that our city because it has a symphony. So they're selling the kinds of attributes and the kinds of things that we have that would make it good for a business to come here because then their people would be happy. Does that make so? I just see it as so interactive that to make it all about money is missing because you're never asking for money. You're asking for people to help or to make a change in your community where it would be better. And that's the reason. Then you ask for money to get that. And that is what is important. The money is just a result of if you have a good program and a good project you want to do, a building you want to build, then your community will help you. That's what I've found.
Yeah, well, just to reflect back what I'm hearing, because I think, again, instructive to everybody that's tuning in. Um, we all start a business because we need remuneration in order for us to sustain ourselves, pay the rent, pay for groceries, put gas in the car, and all those things. Um, and but what we are hopeful of is that we can earn that remuneration by doing work that matters with people we care about. We want to make, it's, and so there's in fundraising and in many solopreneur type endeavors, what I think I'm hearing you see, and what I see so often is people become fixated on the money part of it. Like that's becomes the ends and the end, like I just need to make $10,000 a month or $100,000 a year, whatever your money number is. And if you only focus on that and you're completely attached to uh, that that remuneration goal, that money goal, then it becomes a pretty slippery slope in terms of how you're going to go about getting that. You can find yourself doing and saying a lot of things that are not in integrity with your core values, with your guiding principles, with the way that you want to be perceived in the world, with the reputation you want to maintain, because you feel like anything that gets you what you want, the money is validates uh, what you're doing to get it. And the opposite is actually what is actually true, which is if you want to build a business that makes a difference, if you want to help people achieve whatever you're achieving through the fundraising, through the purposes of that people are donating to, if whatever it is, the lifestyle or the outcome, the lived experience on the other end of that is the goal. And money is just one of the means to achieve that thing. And if we can invert that relationship and take money away as the goal and instead as a means to the goal, then it seems like we are able to more more easily align who we are, what we're good at, what we believe, what what we want to become, it with our pursuits, our vocational pursuits, our occupational pursuits, whatever it is. So I think it's I've said this too many times. When you talk about fundraising, I just say, well, that's just what fundraising is. And when I see the way fundraising is pursued, I recognize that what you're telling me is exactly true. They treat me like an ATM, and all they want to do is shake me upside down and get as much money as they can. And when they got what they asked for, they want to shake me a few more times just to see if there's any more that they can get
Yeah,
access to.
I'd just like to say there are three things. The result of this money focus, where reaching the money goal is the goal, and is that fundraisers are quitting in 16, 18 months. The donors give one or two gifts and they're gone. And everybody inside, particularly the organization, as well as people out who are donors, hate fundraising. They see it as only asking for money, and that's not what it is. It's about building communities. So thank you
Yeah.
for
Well, yeah, and in solopreneur terms, it's the problem of churn and burn. If you're not taking care of the people that have already entrusted you to help them achieve some sort of goal or aspiration or overcome some sort of challenge or problem, if you don't continue to nurture those people, you're going to eventually lose them, and you're going to be in this constant pursuit of getting more people, which is a fool's errand, because at a certain point you're going to run out of enough people that know you well enough to actually trust you to do a thing, and then that puts you into a whole nother line of work, where you become effectively a digital marketer, or some sort of wannabe guru that has to just keep attracting followers so that you can convert them into prospects, leads, etc. So Penny, before I let you go, one of the last question is always, if there was just, and I'm going to make a suggestion because you mentioned it earlier, and I would love to get your take, but do whatever you want with this final question. The folks that are watching this broadcast, most of them are already seasoned solopreneurs. They have a business, and what they're looking to do is optimize that business so that they can fund and fit that business around the lifestyle that they want. They want to do good work. They want to do meaningful work. They also want to get remunerated enough and have enough time for all the other things that are important in their lives. If there was just one principle or thing that you've learned along the way that would help someone consider or act upon a principle or concept that you've come across that would help them start to craft that business that so that aligns more with who they are, who they want to become, what their values are, and what they're really good at. What advice, principle, or practice would you share with them?
I would share something that I believe deeply, and that is people want to give, they want to help, they want to be a part. If you go to I bet there's hardly anybody, if you go to the post office and you see a person with a big box wanting to go in, you'll open the door and they'll turn and say thank you. And that to me is trusting that people want to help. If they understand how they can help and what it's about and who it's for and what are the benefits going to be, and it's in alignment with their beliefs, they will help you. It's about generosity. It's about being a part of a community. Who doesn't want to be a part of our community or do something that will help our community, whether it's $25 or $50 million, everybody is trying to help their community. So I say, be open, trust yourself, and trust us humans that we want to help.
I love that. That is phenomenal last share. Well, Penny and I really appreciate the gift of your time and attention. We hope that some of the insights and inspiration that Penny has shared helps you get closer to what you want in your life and business. If you have any reflections or questions that you'd like to share, you can share them in the comments below wherever you're watching this video live or in replay. And of course, if you are listening as a podcast, please rate and review. It really helps more of the right people collide with this and benefit from this content. And until we talk to each other again, please take the insight and inspiration that Penny has shared with you so that you can fly a little bit higher in the difference that you want to make in the world as a solopreneur. And until next time, thank you very much. And we'll see you where we see you next. And Penny, thank you so much for the gift of your time and attention.
Thank you.